All right. Well, good evening, church family. Thank you so much for tuning in with us. It's been a while since we came to you in this kind of format with our Facebook feeds. We were doing this almost every night, and now we've because of Safe Assembly Services and being able to be back together, we cut down a little bit on how we were meeting with you, but we wanted to take a few minutes and just kind of update you on ways that you can still participate and be involved through what looks like will be the month of June with the social distancing guidelines and trying to be compliant with CDC guidelines and those sorts of things. So, and then we'll have maybe a short devotion at the end. We'll catch up with Chad. We'll see what this guy's been reading over these last few months. All right, we'll see we asked him what he was reading when we started COVID. Let's see if he got through anything. All right. So let's start. Let's start with the Safe Assembly Services. Let's talk a little bit about that. Why don't you kick that conversation off? How have you enjoyed them? What should our people maybe look forward to in coming if they haven't tried one yet? Those sorts of things.
Well, I've been very, very refreshed by them. My family's been coming to the 11 o'clock and joining me there. And as we were, the first Sunday that we came back with the Safe Assembly Services, as we were sitting together in church as a family, I just looked over at Linda and said, "Doesn't this feel awesome just to sit together as a family in church?" And she just gave me a big smile,
right?
And agreeing with that. And obviously it's not the same as what we had before.
Sure, yeah.
But just in my humble opinion, it sure does beat not being able to be together at all.
Yeah, I agree. But I kind of like it. I don't think I would like it for very long.
Yeah.
But it's been refreshing to see the church family.
Yeah.
Or encouraging.
Yeah.
But then what's kind of been exciting to me is you're trying new things. You're doing stuff that we probably would have never tried or done. Offering plates on the back wall.
Yeah.
That kind of stuff. So, I don't know.
I know a lot of people certain people, I shouldn't say a lot of people, I think certain people are glad to see the handshaking go. Maybe some of our more non-social people are happy to see the handshaking go.
Yeah, everyone, and I got a lot of comments that way too. Yeah, they were glad to.
Or not only non-social.
But we should still be friendly, okay?
Right.
So we should make some qualifiers here.
The non-social and the germaphobes are glad to see the handshaking go, right?
Well, I can tell you, but even before COVID hit, I'd watch people. They'd go shake hands, and then as soon as they got back to their seat, they would just bathe in this hand sanitizer, but you know who you are if you're listening. Right. So yeah, I think some folks, it's been fun. It's been refreshing, really encouraging to see the church family, and then we're doing a great job. I feel like our team is doing a great job with keeping the building compliant with social distancing guidelines, and then also getting the building, cleaned, prepped for the next service, and a lot of energy and work is going into that. This is our second week, and just preaching 3 services right in a row. By the time you get to the last one, you're not even pausing for the joke. Now you're just giving the joke, and you're just, let me give you the points. All right, it's like
I still laugh at the jokes.
Yeah, I appreciate that. Yeah, I appreciate that. But it's been fun. We'd love to know from you what you felt about the Safe Assembly Services, things you've liked, maybe even some ideas you had about ways that we can improve. And of course, we don't know how long we have to meet this way. I think at least the month of June is probably, what I would assume we have to meet this in this kind of capacity, at least for that. And then hopefully by July, they've kind of extended some of those limits, and we're able to get a few more people into particular services. So what we have been doing is we've been doing 3 services on Sunday. And then we've done three Safe Assembly services throughout the week. We're doing midweek Bible study through Psalms is on Tuesday. And then Zoom classes, which are basically our connection groups, those are happening on Wednesday. So a lot, that's a lot to take in. And we want to talk a little bit about our Sunday schedule. We've had great turnout for the 9 and the 11 o'clock hours. And then the 1 o'clock hour really hasn't been any more than half full, probably any time we've done it. So we want to know from you all kind of how you feel about this 1 o'clock service, and if it's something that we ought to maintain and keep. So what we're going to do on the schedule for this coming Sunday is we're going to have a 9 o'clock service and an 11 o'clock service. So we need you to go to the website, and we need you to register that you'll be a part. You'll need to have that email confirmation in order to attend. So we need you to go to the website and register for one of those two services. If both of those services meet capacity, then we'll come back and we'll add the extra service. But I think we can get everybody into those earlier services and still be compliant. So that's our intention, at least. So we want to encourage everyone. Help us spread the word on that, please. I know many of you have tried to communicate with different folks who perhaps don't have the advancements of like Facebook Live or all these kind of things. So please make sure you take the time to, in your little network of influence, send text messages, phone calls, tell them if they're going to come to service, it's going to be either the 9 o'clock service or it's going to be the 11 o'clock service. So either 9 or 11 are the ones that they can come to. And then, of course, the Spanish service meets on Wednesday. So if you're looking for a sermon in Spanish, singing in Spanish, and then the Khmer service, Cambodian services on Friday, and then the Korean services on Saturday morning. So all of that information is on our website, and we want to see you at one of them. Okay, we want to see you there. That's our goal. And if it fills up, you just send us an email, and we'll add the extra service slots as they're needed. Okay, so that's kind of maybe the Safe Assembly conversation. I don't know if you had something else you wanted to add about the Safe Assembly services.
We had it was just interesting. We actually had 2 first-time visitors on Sunday.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And I think that both of them, I know for a fact that one of them was really blessed by the service.
Yeah.
And the other gentleman that came seemed really very happy as well. They were understanding of all the different policies that we had set in place. But thank you, First Baptist, for being a friendly church.
Yeah.
And I think they definitely could feel that this is a place where God's love is.
Yeah, it was a blessing too. The last 2 weeks we've fed over 100 folks in our community, whether it would just be needy or homeless. And man, what a great job our team has done in preparing those meals. And we live in a world where just everybody's angry, and everybody's mad. Everybody wants to be mad or angry at something. And I can just tell you, right here in the middle of Long Beach, we're just continuing to give out the gospel, meeting the needs of our city, meet the needs of our neighbors, and serve Jesus while we have the opportunity. Gave out every meal that went out over the last several weeks, had a gospel presentation in it, and good is still being done. Yep. And most people are so appreciative and receptive to those things that are being done. So tell us about the Zoom meetings.
Yeah, Zoom meetings. It's an easy process to get signed up for it, and I've been enjoying them.
Yeah.
I'm a part of your class, me and Linda are, and the Married Life class. But I've heard from multiple people from different various classes that it's been a blessing to them. I was talking to a couple that's in Brother DeBruin's class, and this particular couple was just telling me how Brother DeBruin has been doing some different things, like just by way of different activities over Zoom.
Right.
I think one of the things was find an object in your house that has special value to you. And so this brother that was telling me about that just said, through this we've kind of gotten to know our class on a level that we hadn't known them previously to this. So it's the Zoom classes have been a blessing because we've been able to actually have some interface with people. You're actually able to have conversations with people.
So if somebody's not in a Zoom class, how can they be a part of one?
Go to fbclb.org. You're going to go to the top, things to the top right. You're going to hover over that. There's a place where it says connect, and you just click on connect, and there's a place where it's a very simple little thing that you fill out there just with basic information, your name, your email address. And then what that does, and you're going to put in there which group you want to belong to. And there's actually, it has the information there. So you can look at the different classes and
Like age range.
right. It
and
has the
life
name of the class.
stage,
It has the name of the class. It has the teacher, and it has the life stage. You know,
Okay.
the ages and the focus of that particular class.
Okay, good.
So you can look at that first, and then determine which class you want to be in, and then you can go to that place where you fill the information. And what that does is it sends us an email, and it'll have your email address in there as well. And then I will email you the Zoom meeting ID code that you need to get into that Sunday school class.
Okay.
So
Yeah. So if you are a part of one, please make sure that you
Yes.
that you sign up and you plan to join. So that's what we're doing on Wednesday night. So there's no Facebook meeting, Facebook Live. None of that's happening on Wednesday night. That's all being done through Zoom,
it's 7 p.m.
and it's at
Wednesday
7. Yeah, it's at 7 p.m. So you don't want to miss that. That's an enjoyable time. All right. What else?
Let's see. You had asked me what I've been reading.
Yeah.
Do we want to go to that now? Or
Let's
is
do it.
Okay.
What have
well,
you been reading?
I took your recommendation and
Yeah.
been reading the book The Splendid and the Vile.
Yeah.
I'm still working through it. It's actually it's a pretty thick book.
Yeah.
So been reading through it. Very enlightening on just some of the insight on Winston Churchill
Yeah.
and just the whole nation of Britain during World War II.
Yeah.
As they were bracing themselves for the bombing campaign that the Nazis did on them. So it's been very, very interesting. Very good recommendation.
Yeah,
there, so.
great. It's a great book. It's a great read. Just about the, a spirit of courage, determination. Not giving in. Okay, what else? You read anything else, or is that it?
I started reading a book that I read. This is going to be, I think, the fourth time I've read it. It's To the Golden Shore.
Yeah.
The Life of Adoniram Judson. So I started reading that again.
Yeah.
I try to, at least how it's worked with me, I've read it once every few years.
Yeah.
And every time I revisit it, it's just kind of like, it's just one of those books that when you get to the end of it, you're just sad that it's the end of it. You know? It's like it's been like a friend to you. The story has been a friend to you. So.
Yeah, I made a recommendation Sunday. If you haven't read In His Steps by Charles Sheldon, you should read that book. It's great. It's a great read. It's very encouraging. Yeah. I started a book by Metastics, which was If You Can Keep It, which is basically a historical understanding of our freedom as a democracy and the faith of our founding fathers and how these things tie together. And that's so vitally important in the age in which we're living, where so many are trying to rewrite American history and trying to change what was actually true about our founding fathers. And they want us to be embarrassed or ashamed of who we are as a country, who we are as Americans, and what our founding fathers stood for and fought for. And this book kind of sets all of that in proper perspective to remind you of the lessons you were taught as a kid, and gives you a sense of pride and a godly pride in who we are as a people. But the book is entitled If You Can Keep It. And it's a great book. I strongly recommend it. I think we'll order some for our bookstore here. We'll get them in time for 4th of July. Yeah, really, really good read that I've enjoyed. So we want to know from you, what are you reading? And I want to encourage you, turn off all the social media outlets, turn off the news channels, and put yourself in God's Word and get a good biography of a missionary, our country, and spend some time just reading and break away from all that sense of just negativity and worldly mindedness, and it isn't good for your soul. I had to do that a little bit last week and just say, mute on all these things, because in the end, who I am isn't determined by what someone's view of me on social media. is if these people really desired to know who I was, they'd come and have a face-to-face conversation with me.
Right.
So you just mute all that and put yourself in a place where you're taking in what's good and right and holy. Think on these things, whatsoever is true, honest, just, of good report. If there's any virtue, if there's any praise, think on these things, the things that really matter. And as we approach these summer months, I really want to encourage you to do that. And maybe we'll spend a little bit of time just over the next few months just talking about what we're reading, what we're learning, and encouraging you to join with us in reading those things.
Another good book was one you recommended to me that we started reading with Linda. Is it Lifetime Guarantee?
Lifetime Guarantee, yeah.
That's been a very good help.
Yeah, Bill Gillum, it's a great book. That's a great book. I read that book when I was in my early 20s. Gave me a good, proper sense of understanding of how I grew up, how I should view some of those things, and then how a lot of that is really projected forward onto your kids.
He says a lot. He doesn't waste any words.
Yeah,
so
absolutely.
Lynn and I read half a chapter.
Yeah.
And there was so much to think about just in half of the first chapter. I was I don't know if I can process anymore. He says a lot, and it's all been very, very good.
I've given that book I've given I think about 8 or 9 copies of that book away just recently. With a lot of people experiencing different emotions and struggles and battles, I just felt that's a really important book for somebody to. I think one of his chapters, how you got into this fix, right? I think that's maybe chapter 2, which is what got you here? What is it about you that got you here? And just that kind of self-awareness and growing in a self-awareness to know, everybody wants to blame everybody else for their problems. I got problems because of you, and I got problems because of them, and I got problems because you got problems. I have problems because of me. I mean, in the end, it's me. And that book kind of helps set some of that in proper perspective. That I think will be incredibly. I highly recommend that book. That's a great book. I don't read that book every year, but I read it every few years. And it's just it's always just refreshing to read. It'll help you in your parenting. It'll help you in your marriage. It'll help you in understanding, why you get so angry when your boss says something to you at work, why you get so defensive. That's why I gave it to him. And, it'll really help you understand how to process what you're feeling in those kind of emotions. It's a great book, and if you want to help yourself, I encourage you to read that one. So lots of good things. Tell us what you're reading. Tell us if we ought to read it. Leave a little tab about what that book meant to you, and we certainly want to jump in and read that right along with you. So you want to talk about Saturday mornings, the prayer time? Yeah. When's that happening? How can they know about that?
Saturday morning, 9 a.m. If you go on the church Facebook page, the link to the Zoom meeting is on that. And I think they post that usually about 8 o'clock in the morning, about an hour before. Yeah. And they leave it up until about, maybe 5 or 10 minutes before the meeting starts. I think after the meeting starts, they go ahead and take it off. Right. But as long as you check between about 8 a.m. and 8:50 on Saturday morning, you should be able to get into the meeting with no problem. Okay.
So that's how you find out about that prayer meeting on Saturday. So look, I'm just telling you, things are happening Monday. Things are happening Tuesday. Bible study Tuesday night, Zoom meetings Wednesday, prayer meeting on Saturday morning. Things are happening all around the campus, in addition to Safe Assembly services on Sunday. So there's a lot going on. You have to stay up to date. You don't want to miss one thing. And it's a way that you can stay in connection and in contact. Of course, if you can't join the prayer meeting, you can always head over to the Facebook or to the website, find the prayer wall, and the tab, just click it, drops down. You can put your prayer request in the comment section. It'll get posted and update us that way as well. So lots of good ways to stay apart and stay involved. Here's a devotion I want to share with you. I've been reading from my devotions. I've been reading the book of Jeremiah, and I shared this in a sermon a few weeks back now. One of our Psalm study, and the sermon reads the verse reads like this. I'm in Jeremiah chapter 32. And look at verse number 41. And this is the Lord speaking through Jeremiah here. And he says this, "Yea, I will rejoice over them to do them good. And I will plant them in this land assuredly." And then notice this, "with my whole heart and with my whole soul." And isn't that a great promise that when God blesses us, when God loves us, when God extends mercy and grace to us, He does it with his whole heart and his whole soul. So this isn't the idea that God is like the guy who walks by somebody begging for change and just reaches into his pocket, pulls out a couple nickels, and half-heartedly flips them in that guy's direction. That's not the way in which God deals with us. No, God doesn't just half-heartedly do things in our direction because he has pity on us or because he just feels sorry for us. No, look, I do these things, I rejoice over them with my whole heart and my whole soul. God puts his whole heart into having relationship with you. God puts his whole soul into knowing you. God puts it all on the line for you and for me. And of course, how does he do that? Well, he did that ultimately with Jesus Christ. When he sent Jesus to die on the cross for our sin, the Bible says God commended his love toward us. That word commended, he showed it, he demonstrated, he proved it. God proved his love toward us in that while we were sinners, Christ died for us. He put his whole heart into it. He didn't do it with a spirit of neglect. Oh man, I just don't even want to do this. I don't even like these people. Oh, they get on my nerves. No, he put his whole heart into loving you, and he put his whole heart into loving me. And aren't you thankful that we serve a God who rejoices over us with his whole heart? He doesn't get up in the morning and go, okay, here we go. I got to listen to this guy again. How many of us have friends who we see their name on the caller ID and we go, here we go again. I got to talk to this guy. I mean, I do that anytime I see Chad's name pop up on my caller ID, but don't let him know that. But how many of us have relationships like that? We don't even put our whole heart into it. But think of this. The God of the universe puts his whole heart, his whole soul into relationship with you and me. And what a blessing it is to serve a God who loves us like that. All right, church family, thanks so much for tuning in with us. We hope this was a blessing. We will see you tomorrow at 6 o'clock for our Bible study in Psalms. God bless.